Are you feeling lonely this Valentine's Day? Do you feel like you're missing out on a deep connection? Like you have so much to give, but haven't met that special person? Well, come on down to this week's Super Heavyweight Smackdown. Perry and Insanity, will they ever love again? Two ex-teammates scorn, betrayal. They worked together last summer. Now they clash this weekend. Who will win? Find out at this week's Super Heavyweight Smackdown.
Hello everyone and welcome back for our final series of the day. It's going to be Cincinnati Fear going up against Dignitas. I'm personally really excited for this one, Covey. I mean, both teams have been doing really well, and for Fear, considering this is one of our provisional teams, to be at this point, I think is really hype.
I said it at the start of the day, and I'll say it again now. I think the biggest story that we have in NACL halfway through the split is the success of the non-LCS affiliate provisional teams. To have Fear sitting at 11-3 and Wildcard sitting at 10-4 at our halfway point is incredibly impressive, and I'm really excited for Fear to get what I feel like is their first true test this split going up against Dignitas.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've had just great matches throughout the day. The first one that we just got to see between Immortals and TLF was just phenomenal, and I'm hoping if we can get, you know, a little bit of the hype that we've gotten to see throughout the day thrown into this series, that it could really just end off on a really high note. And my personal preference, I know we've been seeing these 2-0s magical, but between these two teams, both being top teams, if we could see a 1-1 series, I feel like that'd be the most hype of all.
I think so too. I would be very excited to see them both split. But when you look at both teams pound for pound, there is a little bit of a rivalry, even if it's friendly from both sides. Perry, having played on Dignitas Academy last year, making that run all the way to the finals in Proving Grounds with the team, playing with Insanity. You got these two players that had to learn very quickly how to play with one another. Now on opposite sides, both of them at the top of the standings. It just makes it that much more exciting to see how it's going to play out.
And we're going to pull up those standings real quick so everyone can see exactly what we're talking about. Dignitas Fear right at the top here, Cubby.
And again, I said that I felt like this was the first true test for Fear. I think that while we have the standings up, you know, out of all the teams they've faced so far, week one, they did split 1-1 against TLC. But we actually made another standings chart with another column to be even fancier when it comes to our halfway point of the split. This is opponent strength of schedule. So this is your opponent's win percentage and who you faced so far. And so you can see Dignitas and Fear, they've had a weaker opponent wins percentage. Part of that's because they're beating all those people. But also, here are the opponents that Fear is yet to face that they're going to be facing in the second round robin. 100 Thieves Challengers. CLG Challengers. They have Wildcard still to go. Like they 2-0, or they have FlyQuest Challengers still to go.
Yep.
And today they have Dignitas Challengers. So these are all teams that are towards the top of the table that we feel like Fear are going to be tested by. And I really wanted to see how they respond to those tests, because Dignitas, their early games have been blistering. And we'll see if Fear is up to the task today.
I just have to thank you, Cubby. I wrote up little flashcards that had everyone that Fear went up against, as well as who they are going up against, to show off for a nice little visual aspect.
You didn't tell me that.
You kind of hit on that already, so that was 5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
It was just 5 minutes of my
Sarah,
life here
that
I am never going to get
Sierra,
back.
Hold on. You want a lesson, Sierra? Just interrupt Cubby. It's okay.
Just go. No, I feel bad now. This isn't in the Valentine's Day spirit. Show the flashcards. What do we have?
No, it's too. It was just.
It's too late. You ruined it. Soiled it.
We'll go through the first half. The people that Fear have already gone up against, because I feel like that is important too. Yeah, they have a lot of difficult matches to still go. But
I'm not good with surprises.
Some of the ones that they've gone up against, I mean, still impressive. It's 1-1 going up against TLC. That's super cool right there, right? CLGF, I mean, that's going to be a 2-0. Yeah, they're going to be taken down.
Yeah.
Golden Guardians 1-1. Okay. They're holding their own. 2-0. Like, you see a trend with provisional teams, but as soon as they're going up against these challenger teams, like, they're not taking the losses. And the 2-0 against DIGC Challengers was, like, huge. So they've definitely been tested a little bit in this. So a couple of the matches they have coming up are actually really difficult. When you look at the schedule too, they do still have some easier matchups thrown in there. You're looking at TLF. You're looking at like wildcard. I wouldn't say is easy, but they're not going to be the same as
They have TSM, but they're scaling. Yeah.
Like there is still there is still some really impressive things here. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's why I know a lot of people will keep talking about the strength of the schedule and all this stuff, but the fact that Fear have taken games like the game off of TLC, a team that we were really hyped going into this one, getting the 2-0 over EGC, they shouldn't be overlooked just because like they had some of the weaker teams at the beginning of the split too.
I bring it up not to take anything away from their 11 wins, but just to say that for this storyline to go from they're a top provisional team to a top team in the league, they're going to have to survive and win some of these tests. And I'm really looking forward to seeing if they can do that today against Dignitas. And even Dig's looking forward to that as well.
Well, the first up in the segment to get ready for this, we do have a little clip here thanks to an interview from Azell.
Yeah, I mean, we want to take it all the way for sure, right? I mean, to be fair, Cloud9 is also looking very strong. They had a little bit of hiccups recently, but these guys are very, very strong as well. So our eyes are set on that team, but we don't want to forget the other ones, right? TL and even Fear is looking pretty good recently. I mean, I'm boys with Fear, so it'd be nice to face them in playoffs. We're facing them next week, so that's going to be fun as well. A good matchup.
I was going to say, besides that matchup and the couple that you mentioned, is there any other outliers? Is there anybody you've been impressed about in ACL so far?
Yeah, I mean, I would say TLC. I believe we're playing them a bit later in the split, right? So we still can bring our form up to even higher standards by then and hopefully get a 2-0 versus them as well. But TLC would be the main one as well as Fear.
I mean, with this team going up against Fear, there's definitely a lot of things about Fear that are super impressive. Not just like what they've been able to do, into this season, Cubby, but also just what they've been able to do in the past.
Yeah, and I mean, I stopped by their practice actually this week for one of their scrims. Shout out to Fear for letting me stop in. I had a really good time, getting to know some of their players. And I think the big thing that I took away and the emphasis they had is that these are players that, they're sacrificing a lot. Like, they are a provisional team. And they're players that, they're playing, like, they're giving up school. They're giving up, like, this is all they're doing, right? And they don't make the salaries that a lot of these challenger players do. And I think that the chip on that shoulder, they've really ran with it and used it to really rise to new heights. I know I talked to Perry before this. What Perry said, I want fans to remember that we are NACL amateur teams, we are underdeveloped players, and we are still able to compete with the challengers players, along with having less funding and less staff to work with. I think that everyone's really stepped up in order to do that, and it's one of the big takeaways I've taken from Fear, and that's why I'm excited to see if they can keep that up today.
Yeah, I feel like that's just the mental and what you need to be going through to still be able to be putting up the types of results despite being at a disadvantage in comparison to these teams that have these resources magical. It's just nuts.
Yeah, the thing, though, is they're now facing off against what is currently the top challengers team. It's
Perry's old team?
You have all this stuff. You have all this stuff. I talked about Perry's old team. It's a friendly rivalry because they're actually still very close with Perry. Dignitas is. But it's still going to be really difficult. Insanity has been playing out of his mind. The rest of the team is starting to get on the same page where we see kind of like what they did back in Proving Grounds, pulling off that miracle run when you have a team that was swapping back with the LCS and having all these players move up and down, and then somehow making it to the finals is impressive. And you've kept Insanity, one of the core members of that Dignitas Academy roster last split, here into this one, and he is playing to the absolute pinnacle we've seen in his career.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of how this goes down, as long as we can see some good League of Legends from both teams here.
I expect it.
Like, yeah, these are the two top teams right now. Even if it is going to be a 2-0 in Dignitas' favor, which I'm sure is an expected outcome for a lot, I still think if Fear could be holding their own, it could really just show us a lot. But regardless, the draft is ready. We're going to get into this game, so I'm going to let you go off to that.
All right, let's get ready for this showdown. I'm excited. You have a bunch of rookie players on Cincinnati Fear who have upset everyone's expectations of them going into the LCS Challengers League, up against some of our veterans during the Academy season and here into the Challengers League, such as Insanity, Tomo, Diamond, players who seem like they're back into that shape we saw when they were at the top of their careers.
They have been, again, the blistering early games from Dignitas. It's been the focus in draft. It's been what they've been doing on the Rift. They've been able to execute it to a degree that has them at the top of our standings at 12-2. We'll see if they can keep it up today. I do want to say Fear already putting a big emphasis on that. A lot of that early game has been played through Tomo and the Caitlyn. Caitlyn was coming into the day. Caitlyn was 12-1 in games in NACL, and the best Caitlyn player we've had so far, it has been Tomo. So I do really like Fear respecting that and banning that Caitlyn away.
Yeah, as well on the other side, the respect towards the Fear squad. Taking away Finals, Olaf, no more 1v3 highlight reels that we're going to see. The flexibility of Tristana as well as Shochi playing one of his most can't play one of his most powerful champions that he's had in this career, in this split that he's played blind several times.
I gotta say, this means that the jungle pool is wide open, and Lucian Nami's still available for Dignitas.
I would honestly expect that if Maokai's left open like it is now, it's probably going to be the Lucian picked up, just because Tomo Diamond do like to play that a lot when they don't have Tristan, when they don't have Caitlyn that they can fall back onto.
I think the session pick, though, is curious if Dignitas decide to lock this in, because you can see the focus in the bans. It is the solo laners that they're worried about from Fear. It's not the bot lane. I feel like Tomo and Diamond, they have been the strongest 2v2 that we've had so far. So they're going to give Manui that Lucian Nami lane and try and play into it by denying the solo lane focus for Fear and having that for themselves.
All right, and then for Tomo Diamond, I mean, there's still options, right? The Zeri Lulu lane that we've seen pretty much every single time into a Lucian Nami is still open. That's going to be the option. I shouldn't have even put that into the world because, now it's happening.
Yeah, LCK games. How's your day going, man? Magical.
You know, it's been all right. It's been a lot of good chaotic games. You know me, I thrive in chaos. So I've enjoyed all of our series so far. I'm hoping that we have something like that in this series. I'm ignoring draft because I'm expecting probably Maokai or Vi.
Yeah, I think Maokai, I mean, that's the choice here for Fear. They could go Wukong if we want to get real extra frisky.
Extra frisky.
Yeah, it's Maokai.
Yeah, it's
honestly,
Maokai.
I mean, this draft hit at the perfect time because you can probably tell I have the sneezes right now. So, you know.
I've been having the sneezes all day. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. It's the chalkboard, all the dust in the air. But I've been sneezing so much today, and I totally feel that. And by the way, for everyone who's now tuning in, the reason why we're not really talking about this just yet is because the draft isn't inherently exciting. It's something we see all the time, like Cubby just mentioned, in the LCK especially. But here's where it gets a little bit more exciting when we can start talking about these solo lanes. Because Faisal, this player, not having that Olaf that he's been really dominant on, one of those classic picks that he's had, they're also then aiming at Hoon to try to make it so that Faisal, even if he's not going to be on his classic, they're not going to have Hoon on either Jett or Fiora. I'd expect both those bans to be levied towards Dignitas Challengers.
We could see Anar taken away as well, but what usually happens is, do they ban the Cassante? It looks to be a yes. So that's actually quite a few champs now into Faisal's champion pool. Now, Faisal is someone that I really credited for having a wide pool in his time in Amateur. He's someone that I actually thought very highly of. I thought he was the best top laner that we had in the Amateur circuit this past year. So I was surprised to see him on a provisional team. A lot of that was that I think he's good at playing weak side and strong side. He's shown that he can do both. But with that focus, the Cassante being taken away, the top lane focus is now abandoned from Fear. And that Akali ban tells me that they want to take the Azir here on 4.
Oh, okay. That is something Sochi does like to play a good amount. When not on Tristana, when not on Kassadin, Azir is a viable option for them. A lot of safety, especially into someone like Insanity, who does like to play very aggressively in lane phase. LeBlanc is kind of the champion that I look at in Insanity with a lot of the highlight reels that we saw back in the Proving Grounds finals in Game 3 to really set up the team. And I know you're wowing over that Gangplank final ban.
Yeah.
And going into the Fiora pick, that is still open for either side.
The only pick that Faisal has played, right? There's 2 picks that Faisal's played that are still up. That's the Camille and then the Jace. But again, called out that the Akali ban. That's going to be Azir. That's good for Shochi. It guarantees some push for Fear in the mid lane. But also, it's one of the better champions for Insanity that's now taken away. And I'm really curious. I mean, I see Maokai, I see Azir, I want Silas. I feel like that should be the call here for the side of Dignitas as Insanity. And I'll Harbor the Corki, of course, another option, but please play Silas.
Silas, just
thank you.
It makes too much sense here.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I gotta say, Faisal's never been one to be a giant Gnar player, but Gnar looks pretty good here on both sides. I know that Hoon is a Gnar player, and you can't really play Gnar now if you're Faisal, just given the fact that there is a Silas showing. So I think that's part of why they're going to take the Renekton. Now, I did tease that Faisal does like Gragas, but that would make for a triple magic damage topside. You can't really do that. So I'm really curious now if they want to go for Jace. Now, Jace does counter Renekton in like just the one-on-one. But if you're going up against a Renekton plus a Sejuani, that is really tough to play into as the Jace. That's a very much a losing 2v2. 1v2, it's hard. But Faisal, he's kind of low on picks now. So he's just going to go for the Scion. Okay.
All right. Not going for that typical bruiser or carry style that we're used to Faisal on. Scion versus Renekton. You were kind of talking about Scion earlier today as something that a lot of people can look at, especially for the early game power and damage you can get in this lane.
I do really love Scion. I think Scion's really strong right now. I just do not like Scion when it's on the team that doesn't have Zeri. So now Tomo with the Scion, with the Maokai, Tomo's going to be able to free hit tanks as Zeri. So Hurricane build's going to feel really good, and that passive for Zeri, when she pops that ultimate, she's going to be able to stack that up pretty quickly and skate around. So I am a little bit worried about that when it comes to the comp here for Fear. Now, the Scion is really good at dealing with Renekton plus Sejuani and does become that giant ball of stats later. And it does actually open up a lot of level 1 cheese potential that Faisal could try and pull. So always have to look out to see if Scion's going to start on enemy camp. Something that is an option now for Fear.
And I kind of want to bring the conversation to that Zeri that you're talking about with Tomo piloting it as we get ready for this first game of our final series of day 1 in Valentine's Day weekend. Because it's hard to lock down permanently Tomo. If you look at everything that has been drafted by Fear, the real reliable source you're going to have is going to be Perry.
It's going to have to be the Maokai into the Nami. And we will see if that, is something that Fear can put together. Shochi as well. Emperor's Divide is a good tool against Tomo. But Tomo, for me, his Zeri has always been very good. And Tomo, this split, for me, I think that he's been very, very good. He is the big part of the Dignitas early game. Again, Dignitas, as a team, they're averaging almost a 3,000 gold differential at 15. And Tomo is almost 1,000 of that. As he is second out of all players in terms of gold diff at 15. He's been fantastic as a marksman with Diamond this split. As the chat giving a lot of love to our provisional team here, Matt Magical.
They are one of the favorites, especially within
Where are
chat.
the Dig fans?
Wildcard. Hey, people like a good underdog story. The Cinderella tale of the Cincinnati Fear right
Can't argue
now.
with that.
You can't argue with it, but they gotta make sure they show up here, especially because it is the David versus Goliath story. The top challenger team versus the unsung heroes, the team that a lot of people didn't put high in regards when it came to the beginning of this split. Yet here they are at the top of the table, getting an even split against Dignitas Challengers. That alone cements them as being one of our top teams in the Challengers League.
Yeah, again, I'm really excited to see if Fear can live up to the test. I know that, again, I got the chance to sit in on their scrim this week. It was a lot of fun, getting to know their coaching staff a little bit more. And all the work these guys are putting in. I mean, they have remote analysts that are unpaid, that are flipping sleep schedules to stay up and help out these guys. Speaking of help, they hit level 2 in the bot lane, but it's they got to pop the heal and run away a little bit.
No, he takes a lot of damage for it as well. Just heal for heal.
Still is advantage to the Zeri Lulu, which we somewhat expect. And yeah, actually, Grapes is right. The games that we have in the ladder block are so good today, as not only do we have this matchup, but also we have TLC versus C9C on the mainstream.
That's a good one.
Definitely go check that out if you are here, but also you might want to stay here quickly, as we have both of our junglers circling around on the bot side.
A lot of damage from Tomo Diamond onto Manui, forcing him under the turret again, and Exu, who is pathing away, hangs out, and now that Perry shows his face, probably going to be the flash over the wall. They got the twisted advance, and Tomo, but he takes down Manui for first blood regardless, as Exu's on the other side to make sure they get the flash out of Trevor with the knockback onto Perry. It's all gone awry for Fear. Exu shows up the hero after Tomo fought valiantly to make sure they stand strong.
Oh, Manui, he had to flash forward to try and execute the Zeri, but it just wasn't enough. The Lulu plus the barrier so close. Tomo trades out first blood, and Dignitas trade out everyone, as that first play goes heavily in favor of Dig, as again, oh man, Manui, maybe if he dashes down to the side, he dodges out of the Zeri auto attack, but not meant to be. He couldn't have put in any more damage, any more autos, and actually being here changes the landscape of this fight completely. as Dignitas off to a hot start already, Mad Magical.
3 kills to start it off, spread out.
Oh.
1 apiece for everyone involved.
They crashed the wave, too.
That is brutal for this bot side of the map for Cincinnati Fear. Especially because these rookie players going up against such veterancy. Como Diamond, they are very well renowned for how they can exert leads like this and make you feel like you never get a chance to even play the game.
And I mean, again, that's what Dignitas has been doing all split. As the start that Dignitas has had, again, this was a team that Bakery, the general manager of Dignitas, said, this team, we believe we can win NACL with this roster. They can. I mean, and so far, there's been absolutely nothing that they've done to prove that's not the case. As Fear already on the back half. TP burn from Faisal. Hoon's going to be able to walk back to this lane, be A-okay on the Renekton. So leads everywhere right now for Dignitas. And for me, you know, the next thing on the chopping block for Dig, can they utilize the lead they have bot lane to take a clean dragon before this Herald spawns? Because if they can do that, then the Herald fight with Renekton, Sejuani, Silas is way too deadly for Fear to even look at. And this could easily be one of those big leads that Dignitas has put together in so many of their games early against Fear in this game 1.
There's a reason why you were even talking about this before. Dignitas Challengers, how dominant they are in their lane phase, where they suffocate teams right out of the gates. And we're already seeing the makings of that. It's in the works, and all they need is that one more, that one final nail in the coffin to make this game exactly as we've seen before.
And they have already prepped a huge wave in the bot side, and XU's halfway through finishing his second clear. So I think Tomo trading a little bit now just to make sure that they can take this dragon for free. Insanity, he's actually going to pull the wave mid, so maybe XU looks for a gank in the mid lane. Not going to be the case, though. They can start the dragon if they'd like. Or they can dive bot if they want to.
There's a lot of options for them, but it does seem that XU is going to start up on the objective, at least briefly. Might be called down. Looking at this and what angle they want to go for, especially with how much they're trying to deny from Minui and Trevor, how much they have to use just to clip the minion waves, it is going to be the dragon.
And again, really well done from Dignitas, because this opens up the fact that they can take Herald with no trade, no resources going over to the side of Cincinnati Fear. So Dig, I think this early game plan, the fact that Dignitas won that 3v3 in the bot side, they've responded to it very well, playing out the map cleanly, and taking away a lot of the options for Fear.
So Fear almost feels like they got to go back to the drawing board, which could be killing Hoon, getting Faisal a bit of a lead, but it is difficult, especially when you have dominance. Like you said, level 4 to level 7, you can bounce them around all you want, you just don't have that damage that can cut through the Crocodile.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough right now for Fear, because again, this is a matchup that Faisal will do okay in over time, but you cannot move the Croc right now, and Hoon, it looks like he has that an attack speed rune, and he's going for the Bork build, so gonna be building to shred Faisal in the side lane. We'll see if he goes for the Gorge Drinker or for the Prowler's Claw. Prowler's Claw would enable him backline access, so.
Now, he's getting access to the turret, another smash of Demolish, should be able to take that plate, though he couldn't attempt the dive onto Faisal. He doesn't have the ult, that would have been dangerous.
Oh, Tomo actually gonna burn barrier.
Burn barrier, but not the flash, was able to dash away from the bubble. All right, Cubby, let's do some check-ins on how this has gone so far. We see the power Dignitas Challengers have had so far, and probably even see Faisal die underneath his turret. Oh, no! Faisal, what?
I mean, Hoon doesn't need to go. Okay, well, we have another death. Hoon doesn't need to go for that play. Like, there's nothing that Hoon has to do to win this map. The fact that Hoon does, though, Faisal was out of resources. Maybe he thought that, you know, he didn't have enough to get a Q off, but not the case. Misses out on it by a wee bit. Hoon would have had the flash off, out to get the dive, but again, you don't have to make that volatile. I mean, this game is pretty won for the side of Dig. We are going to take a second look. Will still be the Herald going over to the side of Dignitas rather cleanly. But again, I don't think you have to go for this as soon. I mean, you're winning the map. Yeah, I get, you know, taking off the shield, but the flash from Faisal, honestly, there was an earlier auto that Hoon threw into the turret. Maybe if he throws it into the Scion, that will be enough. But on the flip side, Perry, he's level 5. Insanity Gets the Maokai ult for free too, and he can use that elsewhere if you'd like.
Yep. Gives him plenty of areas that he can look to attack. Hell, he could even use it mid lane if he wants to force Shochi back and then rotate around the map. There's many things that Dignitas can utilize with this mid-jungle duo. XU and Insanity, having gotten both that ult that you talked about, but also having the Eye of the Rift Herald. Looking at the challengers, and again, where's that plan of attack to make sure it's the death sentence towards Fear that they ever, as right now they look for a fight on a parry on the other side. They thought that they had this. That's a lot of damage that was thrown back onto XU as parry still had flash available.
Trevor there on the hover will at least help deter the rest of the play for Dignitas. I also kind of like Insanity's taking a little bit of a different route to the Rod of Ages, not going to be a catalyst. He wants to have the most ape magic damage available to him instead of the sustain, which I do kind of like, given how far ahead Dignitas is. And we see parry the insta-flash out of the Glacial Prison will mean that this blue buff going over to the side of Dignitas. And Dig, a 3k gold lead at 10 minutes. Again, Bad Magical, we praise this team for their blistering early games, but they make it look so easy. When one thing goes their way, what Dignitas gets out of it is more than any team we have right now in Challengers, and that's why we feel like they're our top dogs, not only in the standings, but also the form they're hitting the Rift with.
You can see the difficulty that the Fear are having at the moment. They did such a great job of taking down teams that nobody thought they would, that they got that first victory over Team Liquid Challengers that kind of set them in this motion to be at the top of the standings, but now they are facing such a strong team, as you talked about, built to win the LCS Challengers League, with a lot of that being on Insanity. Insanity had that connected. I wonder if he actually want to commit for it.
He had flash. I think he could have. As Shochi is actually down still, his Emperor's Divide, so could afford to make that play. And yeah, again, Dig, especially, you know, talking with some of their members, like, they're all, because a lot of these guys have played quite a bit of League at many levels, they're like, yeah, it's easier to play with one another, right? And when we are winning our lanes, we know how to play the map as a team. Yeah, we can talk about it, but also, you know, vibes are good, and everyone feels like things have been kind of easy for them so far, as they've melded really good as a team, really well together. So we'll see if that can continue for Dignitas. There's a 3k gold lead. About all you could ask for in this early game. And they still have the composition where they can snowball that even harder with this Brick House topside, the Renekton, Sejuani, Silas, and then the late game scaling in Tomozeri.
As junglers will meet the mid lane, defending a push, especially trying to unfreeze as Cincinnati Fear want to contest around this dragon.
Yeah.
They had Trevor hovering. Made it a little bit more difficult for them to actually jump on top of Harry. But that left a lot of the time alone in the bot lane for Manui, trying to do his best to clear out these minion waves against Tomo Diamond, and now XU's showing up. He's in a lot of danger. That's the lightning crash too. With all that damage, the calling does nothing to Tomo, who picks up the kill and now can turn this around. Even if he's bounced around, he's got to be careful of the turret shots that he just took.
Tomo
Perry kiting it back. It's all on Tomo right now, trying to kite, trying to damage, trying to look to see if he can pick up this kill onto Perry, who's still somehow alive. The bubble connects, and even with the zap, it wasn't enough. Tomo's waiting it out. They got the damage to the Bramble. Oh no! Perry did not want to go back in as Trevor tries to fight against Tomo himself this time around. But Dignitas Challengers, they kite it out perfectly.
And again, Tomo, I love the play that he makes by flashing forward here. It's a polymorph on Manui, but the flash forward actually enables the wild growth to cancel out of the culling, and Tomo has the confidence to go forward, make the play for Dig. As look at that gold lead. It's now 4.5k. And they're taking the Dragon Man Magical. This early game for Dig, again, it's been so damn good, so damn clean. I know they were looking forward to this matchup as, you know, ZZ's close with Fear. Perry talked about, you know, how he still talks with Insanity, and ZZ's helped him out with his mental game. But Dig, they're the ones doing all the mental damage here, as this early game has been so good from them.
They're putting on a showcase, lane to lane. Even if Hoon died earlier on, he's had full control of Faisal this entire time. XU outpacing Perry. Insanity doing Insanity things against Shochi, where he struggled in the lane phase, but now it has all been his game in that bot lane. Tomo and Diamond looking like the peak Cloud9 Academy that won many titles together.
Oh man, and that's first brick going to Zeri. Yeah, that's a shield bow too. Zeri's gonna be a problem. And this is something I do really like about Dignitas' composition and a lot of the pairings we see right now in the meta. is that the Sejuani comps with the melee solo laners, this does kind of serve as not only a bridge to Zeri, giving yourself, more lanes you can make plays through early, but also, the scaling of Renekton, the scaling of Sejuani, it's fine. It doesn't matter. You double as a brick wall to stand in front of Zeri, who scales out of this world if you are not able to kill Zeri with the first round of spells in a fight. So the fact that Tomo's this far ahead and Dignitas this far ahead, it's going to be so difficult for Fear to play out the rest of this game.
I mean, this is one of those games, again, where we saw last game, right? Where IMTC got this gargantuan lead over TLF in the second game. Here, we're about the same mark with the same gold lead. But this time, it's Dignitas Challengers over Cincinnati Fear. 5,000, almost 500 gold. After the plates have already fallen with a Rift Herald spawning. It's a desperation play out of Cincinnati Fear, thinking that they have the man advantage to be able to take down this neutral objective quickly.
And Fear, I mean, this is kind of a desperation play. Renekton is chasing the Scions, so Faisal is going to lay a short trap for Hoon to try and take away some of his life bar, but once the side of Dignitas shows, and once Fear sniffs out their collapse, they have to retreat, but Renekton's fogging in the bot side again. That gives Fear enough confidence to maybe step forward and see what they can do.
He has been marked by Faisal.
Harry fires out the Nature's Grasp.
Waiting for it. That's going to be a little bit too late. It's already sight secure. And look at the damage on a parry coming out of Tomo. And with Hoon in the backline, getting the cleanse out of Manui. Cannot dive away. Dignitas Challengers, our top challenger team, eviscerate the Fear.
And the angles that Dig took in that fight made it so easy for themselves, as Insanity with the Maokai ult from Fog just splits up the entire river. And Hoon with the easy follow too from another angle. Dignitas making this one, as you like to say, Mad Magical, look clinical.
It is very clinical at this rate, and looking at how everything has gone for Dignitas Challengers, it just continues to reiterate why they are a top team. How
this is so good.
Smooth they are on these plays.
Insanity's hiding behind the sapling and on a control ward. It's a massive ult that Fear cannot see coming. They get parry instantly, and then Hoon, why not have another angle in here, Might as well just take one more, as, again, that fight ended before it started. Love this setup here from Dignitas Challengers, as they're going to look to take down even more. Faisal can't clear out the way, but I think he's stuck.
Yeah, he's stuck.
That's the wrong side of the
That's
map.
a lot of damage from Tomo. You haven't gotten the tank stats just yet to be that meatball in front of Zeri. You can continue to pepper spray you. Oh, man. Yeah, this
Zombie
game,
Man!
Clear out the wave! Do what you can! If only you had built lethality.
That's about where we're at this game. Again, we cannot praise Dignitas enough for really what we're seeing from them. And keep in mind, I mean, we did talk a lot about strength of schedule for Fear, how we were really excited to see a true test for them. I mean, Dignitas just looks like they're in another class, and that's not just a knock at Fear. This is how Dignitas has looked against every team they face. Feels like they've really... I mean, they dropped the one game to C9, where they got obliterated in the early game. And then they dropped another one to TSM, where TSM actually, week one had some really nice fights in the back half. That's been it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been domination out of Dignitas Challengers. And even if you think about it, like that loss in the first week for Dignitas Challengers, that's the first week. You have some jitters. Right there, XU, 1v3. How much damage did Manui do? Nothing. How much damage did XU do? Everything. He's taking away the whole house away from Fear as they dive
Insanity.
in, and Insanity with Diamond as well. And it's perfect out of Dignitas Challengers.
They're winning this game so hard they can't even take Baron yet. And again, Dig, they wanted this matchup. They wanted to make sure that they could take down Fear. There is a lot of mutual respect between these teams, but Dig, they're the ones that are only getting the best of it right now. As Insanity looking for yet another angle. Rift Herald going to be dropped mid. And you got to believe with how far Dig are ahead, they could retreat to the Dragon, but who knows? Maybe they want to.
Or maybe they want to kill Sochi. Polymorph, lightning crash, the damage. Even if it looks like Sochi's out of there, how much damage they already got. Waiting for it. Wait, he's going over the wall. Oh, Tomo.
Look at Zeri.
He's so fed. He doesn't give a damn. He says, whatever. Fight me, you cowards.
And again, I do love the Scion pick, but if you're playing Scion with not enough damage behind you into a Zeri, you're just allowing her to scale off your shield, off your health, stack everything up. As Tomo, he doesn't give, I think, the cleanest thing I could say on broadcast, a rat's ass about what's going on this game. You might be missing the kitty. But he still is. There still is a Tom in here, you know.
Oh man, this game.
Tom and Jerry comps, you know.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've heard that reference.
Yeah, I had to bring it back. I mean, Tom and Jerry's, Looney Tunes, just all that stuff's way too good.
Goated.
You know.
Yeah, I agree. I used to watch that all the time as a kid, so I know.
You know. Oh, okay. Sorry, Faisal.
It's just again poor one out for Faisal.
Oh, never mind. We got the swap. Okay.
He'll live, but at what cost?
You know, this is the point of a scrim where we'd usually say FF.
Yeah.
But you know what the funnest stage games are?
What's that?
We get to see if anything wild happens in these games. Because sometimes, you know, this is where I'd encourage all of our players to try wild things.
I also encourage that, but that's just in general.
Yeah. Faisal does fall to the Borg Renekton. But it is timed. Okay. Never mind.
Time for what? Sushi?
Time for murder.
Okay. Well, Manui's back in his turret. Shoji, he tried, but Tomo was too fast on the fingers with the reactions. He kites back. They do get the kill. They need to. The parry's on top. They got to be careful, though. It's now Insanity time to shine. He's been quiet this whole time because it's all bet on Tomo.
All right. Well, we traded 4 for a shutdown on the Zeri. Is it worth?
The gold
shutdown's
says
on
no.
Azir. He has Void Staff now.
The gold says no.
Okay, well, we tried. You know, Fear, this game's over, so I'm down for Fear to go for whatever crazy stuff they have up their sleeves.
I am too. Hey, you know what? Try. You never know what will happen, like you said. But I will say, like, if we look at both these teams, these two teams throughout this split have been the 2 fastest teams at winning their games. We have, it's actually at 29 minutes even for Dignitas Challengers, and 29 minutes and 3 seconds on average for Cincinnati Fear in their games.
I mean, there are other teams that are faster, but they're the ones losing. So I do like how you preface winning their games.
That's why I made sure to preface that on purpose.
Sejuani just one-shot someone.
She almost one-shot Manui earlier. Weren't you paying attention? Because now she's just chasing down Fairy. They've got way too much damage for anybody to deal with. Even, I mean, this is the thing. When you're this far ahead, you're level 12 already at 21 minutes into the game across the board. Baron, having just spawned, is an easy take for the team. Like you said, it is one of those GG goes next, but it's still a nice opportunity for us to praise Dignitas Challengers as being what we after this series, after how they performed in nearly every one of their series, being undisputed the best team we have in the LCS Challengers League at this point.
They are top of the table. I will say that a lot of teams... Oh, hold on. Prowler's Claw. All right, Dignitas is here.
Nice.
I will say a lot of teams, they actually still feel like it's C9 as the top team. But Dig is starting to pick up some steam, obviously, on stage. And they are our top dogs from what we've seen on our stage games. So, again, Dig, I mean, there's really nothing else we can say about this game. This game was utter annihilation of our provisional team.
It's clinical.
Faisal not scripting on the Scion. That's good to see. But
for Hoon. Okay, Hoon will die. But here's Tomo. This is the big one you have to deal with. Didn't you see how damage that Manui took initially, and they got the kill under the tree already? All the while, Insanity's like, oh, I just want to end this game. I want to go next. Come on. I got places to be.
Insanity's channeling his inner Surdy, except they actually have Baron, and this is not a backdoor for Dignitas. If anyone didn't catch that reference, please watch our last series, as that was some wackiness, especially in Game 1. But this game's also been wackiness, as this is the most one-sided game I've seen in a while. And this is between our top 2 teams in the standings again, guys. Fear.
This is what happens when Dignitas get those leads early. They are suffocating. They're insufferable to deal with. You can't really touch them because they can immediately transition those leads into every single lane.
Because their marksman has a 3-level lead. You can't touch him because Tomo's up 3 levels.
Shush! Don't say it out loud. It's too real.
Insanity.
Insanity is just alive and never dying. They dive into the back line on Shochi. How many kills is that for Tomo at this point in the game as they crack open yet another inhibitor?
Dignitas continue to cruise here, Mad Magical.
Like I said,
the emotes are flying.
They must have a date or something. They got something going on tonight because this game is beautiful out of them. Nearly every point has looked immaculate from Dignitas Challengers. And you said that people argue that C9 Challengers are the top team, but after performances like this, Dignitas Challengers have to be in the conversation. They have to be the team that you discuss in tandem with Cloud9 because they are dominant.
25-5, a 4-0-16 game from Axius Sejuani, and a 9-game winning streak now for Dignitas, trying to make it a 5-match win streak in the next game. I don't know what else to say, Mad Magical. I watched a game that was competitive for the first 5 minutes, and then it was all Dignitas after that first play.
That first play, the first dive,
Wow.
getting 3 kills early on. There's not much to say, like you said. It was a well-done victory by Dignitas Challengers. So we'll just toss a break, and when we come back, we'll have our final halftime show of the day with Sierra. So make sure you stick around.
Welcome back, everyone, to Pro Review. Today, I have AoE Gold Marksman in the bot lane. Lynx coming in to join me. First game that we have, our first clip, is when you were playing up against IMT. And this game started off pretty even, but this is the big dragon fight that you had that kind of blows open the game.
I kind of remember this fight. It was pretty stressful. We just want them to come into us. We can just hit the front. We don't really want to dive too much.
How surprised were you by Balulu's Emperor's Divide as he comes in and flashes forward?
Yeah, right here, I remember in game, my camera control was not the best. I wasn't paying too much attention to the back, so it definitely caught me off guard.
Are you an A mover or a right clicker during fights?
I'm a A mover.
Where do you have your mouse placed throughout most of this fight?
So right here, it's mainly just on the dragon, and then as soon as I see the sign, I just make sure that I don't get hit by it. Then after that, it's just hitting front target. Because usually as ADC, it's hard to dive like in the back, even if your team wants to. So you just want to hit the front target mostly. If you want to improve your gameplay, you should definitely try and make your clicks as close to your character as possible, so they're more precise. So if you're trying to practice, I definitely recommend trying to make it as close to you.
Is there any like streamer, any person that you have noticed that they have like really good mouse control in terms of that for like people to watch?
Yeah, I think Gumayushi, the T1 80 carry, is probably one of the best in terms of mouse movement.
Yeah.
I watch him trade in lane, and he just always makes sure he's out of range of the enemy and in range to auto attack, and I think that's really good.
This is the other game where you're playing the Jhin in a very similar situation.
Well, right off the bat, on Jhin, a lot of the times when you're going for these big objectives like Dragon or Baron, you want to try and save your force shot to try and execute it. It's almost like a second smite. Right here, I'm actually pretty tanky, like even as Jhin. I have tabbies, so I'm not too scared. I think I didn't even have to Gale Force that early. I could have maybe baited him in more, made him jump on me and then go.
One of the things you kind of touched on there is you can actually use your health as a resource. Is there anything that you do that you feel helps maximize that?
I think a lot of the time people use abilities or flashes kind of without thinking, which is not good. Like right here, I'm sure I wasn't thinking too much about my Gale Force, you know? But it's really important to make sure you like have a reason for clicking these abilities. So I should want to Gale Force like after Rengar jumps out of the bush, right? So we kind of bait him in, and then I use my ability to get away. Sometimes like I watch like worse players, and like even myself, I catch myself doing it, that someone is running at you, like say like a Blitzcrank, right? He's running at you with his Q ready to use, and you'll just flash without him even throwing it up. So that's not good. You gotta like wait for them to use ability and play reactive, right?
This is when you guys start to turn around the actual play.
When he used Zanya's, you just have to try and find the next target you can hit, right? Because you can't just sit there and wait for him to get out of Zanya's, because then you're just out of the fight for 2 whole seconds. You're not doing much.
Around here, you have the option to either play this on the left side along the wall, or you can go towards the right.
If I commit on the left side, I don't really have much space to work with, you know? There's a lot more area on the right side where I can move, maneuver with my E, stuff like that. So I think fighting on the right side it just opens me up to have much more areas to move around and dodge abilities and such. Because if I walk forward right here, like the enemy can just throw all their spells, Spyrex can just easily walk up and use his ult, use flash up, stuff like that. So trying to gain as much area of movement you can is definitely good for the fight.
Who's the best roommate?
Ooh, it has to be Isaac, hands down.
Yeah?
This guy's an angel.
What makes Isaac such a good roommate?
He cleans, he cooks, he's just the best.
Who's the worst roommate?
Ooh, it's gotta be Winnie.
Oh,
This guy's
no.
he's not even that bad. It's just
Okay.
I think all our roommates are really good. Gotta
Okay.
pick someone, you know. Thanks to all the fans, everyone supporting AoE. I know we haven't played the best so far, but we're gonna turn that around and then we'll make you guys proud.